Good evening, viewers, and welcome to yet another episode of The Last Word. On this show, we go deep and canvass critical matters that affect you as a Kenyan. And tonight, we will be delving deep into the ongoing lecturers' strike. Many thanks for joining us yet again tonight. My name is Sh7.9, and I'll be steering the show tonight together with my colleague, Ibrahim Karanja. Ibrahim is a senior reporter, award-winning journalist with NTV. It's great to have you on the show tonight, Ibrahim.
I'm honored to be here. Asante sana. And tonight we'll be discussing about the university lecturers' strike, a strike that has entered its 48th day today, and one that is threatening to bring universities to a stalemate. So far, we've seen a couple of universities already sending students home, and there appears to be no end in sight. You saw that discussion in Parliament today, and the different sides are taking very, very hard stances about this. Will we have a resolution? This is what we'll be discussing on The Last Word here tonight.
Right, and we have a representation of critical voices in the education sector, particularly in the universities, and we'll be introducing the guests that we have in studio tonight in just a bit. But like we do every other week on the show, before we delve into the main discussion of the night, we'd like to canvass some topics that have been hot for ourselves and for our live audience with us on the show. And I just want to start with the audience tonight to invite one or two people to share just quickly what has been a hot issue for you as a Kenyan that you'd like to share tonight. We can start with you. Just introduce yourself and go ahead.
My name is Edmond Otieno, a third-year student at Maseno University and a student leader also at the same university. So my hot button tonight is a call from recent statements from the outgone or the former Deputy President of Kenya, that is His Excellency Honorable Rigathi Gachagua, about electing leaders who are educated, leaders who are intellectual. But my question is this: is it only education that makes leaders? For instance, our president has a PhD in plant ecology, and then this means he understands the science of crops, environment, and climate. And we expect Kenya to be a giant in Africa. It should be the one that is being spoken mostly in matters agriculture, food production, and even climate resilience. But is that knowledge practical? Is it used as we expect? Look at when he was making these examples, and he used ODM particularly. He said that these foot soldiers were people who were very disciplined, and they used their knowledge in a way that made the party so successful.
Right.
The difference is that knowledge was used and implemented. For example, look at somebody like Babu Wino. He's a lawyer and he's
right.
also, yeah.
I think the point is made. The factor of education and qualification of leaders, and that's a fair point. I don't know if you have any other, or we can delve right into our discussion tonight. And the discussion, the topic that we have tonight, when we're asking you this question, you can also share with us your feedback on our social media platforms, which is NTV Kenya across all platforms. Can Kenya's universities recover without fully honoring the 7.9 billion shilling lecturer debt now? Can Kenya universities recover without fully honoring the 7.9 billion lecturers debt now? Is there a way forward? Of course, tonight we are on the 48th day of the ongoing strike. We're not having an end in sight. And at this point, I just want to introduce the guests that we have with us here tonight. We have Onesimus Mutio, who's the organizing secretary, University's Academic Staff Union, UASU. Many thanks for joining us tonight, sir. We also have Charles Mukwaya, who's the Secretary General of the Kenya University's Staff Union, KUSU. Many thanks for joining us for this discussion. We also have joining us for this discussion, a veteran unionist, Mr. Wilson Sosion. Many thanks. And of course, we have a live audience made of stakeholders in the education sector. We'll be having voices and individual introductions as we continue with the discussion.
Yes, well, right. And when we speak about the university strike, we're speaking about a multifaceted sector. We're speaking about a sector that affects, at the very forefront, learners and lecturers. But when you go beyond, you're speaking about parents, you're speaking about the universities in themselves, as well as the government and the country at large. And Sharon, today is the 48th day, the 48th day where no learning is ongoing. Just as we introduce this particular discussion, it's important to see that there are learners who left home by the start of this particular semester to go back to school, and with the hope of accessing education. That has not happened. Of course, some institutions have already closed down, but on the other end, there are also the staff, lecturers and other staff at universities.
Right.
People who dispense knowledge. This is what they went to school for, who are having their employer not honor an agreement. And that's why we're here. Remember that we had that very heated discussion, I would call it heated, in Parliament today, with the CS, John Buddy, stating that, look, on the CS Treasury, the country is not doing well financially. We can commit to still pay this money, the 7.9 billion, the money in contention, in phases. This is a position that government has taken. The CS for Education, Julius Ogamba, has repeated this time and again. But the unions are saying, in fact, I listened to the WASU Secretary General, Dr. Constantine Wesonga, last week, stating that we do not dispense knowledge in phases. So we want to be paid full amount.
And that's the bone of contention, right?
That is the bone of contention.
That can this payment be done in phases? And maybe this is where I want to bring in Mr. Mukwaya. The big question being, the government says, Treasury is saying, you know, we have no money. Of course, maybe you can also talk to us about how we got here. Of course, there's an agreement that hasn't been honored for years. And that, can we do this? Is there a way that we can meet at the middle, accept why and the lecturers and the staff accepting the phased out payments?
Thank you so much.
We can pass the microphone.
Sure.
Thank you so much for giving me this opportunity just to share with you part of what is happening in our universities and what has been happening for quite some time now. And even the previous years, these strikes have always been with us. And therefore there must be a problem and there must be a reason to make sure that these things do not happen regularly. But back to your question. Yes, first and foremost, employees within the universities form part and parcel of the social partners between the employer and the government under the tripartite committee arrangement. And this arrangement is worldwide. It is under the ILO conventions that this country, the government of Kenya, has signed, that we can engage in social dialogue, we can engage in negotiations and sign agreements. And once agreements are signed, there are treaties that then require parties to that agreement who have signed the agreement without any coercion to do due diligence by simply ensuring that they honor their part of the bargain. And so we in the universities do engage in structured dialogue as civilized, educated people. We enter into an agreement without a gun on anybody's head. And we agree that this is what is going to be done, this is what we are going to accept to be paid, and the other one says, yes, I'm going to pay you. Now, when that comes to the payment, and one party unilaterally decides to disobey the agreement, right? To a point of even now, even going to court to challenge what he actually signed. That now annoys the social partners called the employees. They become hardened because they also have needs. They have children that need to go to school. They have bills to pay and so on and so forth. So when it comes to now trying to address the concerns that are there, yes, we can engage. We can engage with a view of arriving at a solution. And I think what is currently happening is exactly that. Today, we have been in Parliament. We escalated this matter to Parliament because Parliament is an arbitrator. Parliament is one arm of the government. So we went there to try and find a solution that tells you that it is possible for these universities, between the employer, the government, and the workers, to actually sit and arrive at a solution so that we stop exposing our young men and women from the torture, their parents from the torture. So yes, it is possible, and discussions are actually going on. And I can tell you, not very long, maybe, if parties can be able to agree, we should be able to cross over and get these institutions back to normalcy. Right.
We should be able to get institution back to normalcy. Let me come to you, Onesmus. You also are represented in Parliament today, where the cabinet secretaries of the relevant ministries came and sat with you, and they gave you what the position is. I also understand that Wasu went into a meeting immediately after. Kusu too went into a meeting immediately after. And what most Kenyans today want to know is there a white smoke from the deliberations in Parliament? Are we going to see this strike come to an end?
Well, thank you so much for the invite, and thank you for that question. Yes, as you said correctly, we've spent the day in Parliament, took most of the afternoon. After that, I and our colleague, we had a meeting with the CS, and then because the union has the organs, so now it operates, we had to go back to our delegates or members and try to explain to them the offers that we've received from the new offer that came from the ministry and the commitment that they are putting on the table. We have been able to engage them and to explain to them. We have given them our position. They have given us their blessings, the members that are depending on what happens tomorrow. Then as the national officials, we will be able to make the best decision. So as my colleague said, yes, there might be a white smoke depending on what happens tomorrow. We hope that the government is going to keep their word. But back to what the question was, how we got here. How we got is that in many cases, history has taught us that in the university sector, every time we negotiate CBS, they will never be implemented before we go on strike. Actually, you'll realize that unlike other public sector workers, it is only the university workers who must go on a strike every time they want to negotiate, every time they want to sign, and every time they want to implement the CBA. So this one, it is an historical CBA. It's the 2017-2021. We negotiated this CBA in the year 2019, and the SRC and already submitted their beacons. We agreed that the cost of the CBA was 13 billion, less the pension component. If we load in the pension component, that was coming to around 16 billion. What they paid was 8.8 billion, and they were supposed to pay the balance. But sooner or later, after they paid the 8.8, they went back to court and said, well, we think the calculations were not very correct. We feel that what we have paid them is enough. And, the process went through the court. The judgment came to our favor that the cost of the CBA was 16 billion and that the government was to pay us the balance. That was not enough. Our employer appealed to court again. And therefore, we've been in court until early this year, where now they lost the appeal. And therefore, they had to pay the balance. But now see, when now they were to pay the balance, they went round again and said, oh, no, we have realized actually we don't owe you 7.9. According to another body called the SRC, they are telling us that we paid you the money and we only owe you 600. And you realize that for about 4 weeks, we have been on strike because they don't know how much they owe us. The question has been, if you owe me money and you have not paid me, how can the third party come to tell you that you paid me, yet you yourself, you don't know that you paid? So that's why it has taken so long. But last week, of course, we came together, the ministries, the SRC, we sat down in Machakos to do the audit, and we all agreed that what they owe us is 7.9. And so if we had agreed on that, I think we could have resolved this issue a long time ago.
All right, so now it's the disbursement, the agreement on the figure and the amount has been agreed. We're now on the disbursement, whether in phases or not. That is the point of contention.
Correct. All the parties have agreed that the figure is 7.9. And therefore, even as we appeared before Parliament today, the question was, how do you pay the 7.9? Our position was that these are an owed debt. It must be paid in full and at once. But of course, as my colleague said, the government will have their position and we have to negotiate and reach to an amicable point.
That's clear. I don't know if you got the answer on whether there's a white smoke or not, because I know that's what Kenyans really want to know. Are we moving forward? Do we know what next? Simply.
I think what we can say is that it's promising, but we want to say that tomorrow. We may not say quite clear that there's a white smoke, but there's a probability that we might reach to a good point tomorrow by 10.
All right. And Mr. Sosion, the new funding model, it was supposed to solve the university's funding crisis. Are we seeing this to be a long-term solution or just shifting the burden from the government to the students through the help?
First, let me take this opportunity to salute the university unions for effectively representing her membership, because the world over, even in the continent of Africa, you don't find unions in universities that are organized like we do here in Kenya. And the phenomenal achievement that they've achieved is good, not just to them, but for the country. And we hope this is going to translate to quality teaching, research, and outreach at the universities. I'm saying that as an experienced global leader in teacher matters, previously in my other life. Very fast to your question. When Kenya Kwanza was preparing for leadership, we did prepare an education charter which the president signed. And there were two issues that we saw at the university: the low funding and the poor model of funding at that time. That was challenge number one. Challenge number two, the CBS. On low funding, I think that has been resolved by putting in more money to the universities through help. Then it was 13 billion, and with this budget, it's going to be 41 billion. And it was agreed that that was not going to be enough to resuscitate the universities that collapsed after poor policies from 2016 of eliminating the Module 2 courses and messing up transition from Form 4 to universities. And you see the universities collapsed literally. That the universities could not remit third parties, that the universities could not even pay salaries in full. Some universities were beginning to pay half salaries. This was not a pleasant thing. And I think the president deliberately ensuring that more funding is pumped to the university is a laudable achievement. But then with a revised funding model that targets specifically the students and focuses in sponsoring almost fully students from poor backgrounds. Of course, a lot of politics ensued about it, but eventually it is working. It is in the third year, and when it will be operating in the full circle, in the fullness of time, the universities will be able to operate and do its work without debts. And when Kenya Kwanza administration took over, the debts in the universities were at 66 billion. And I think that one with the funding model, it is work in progress. It is going to resuscitate all this. So then question number two, the CBS. And the CBS in the universities have been confused and messed up over time. We were in the same conundrum in 2014. It was sorted out. But then we are now in 2025 and we're talking about a CBO of 2017. I remember I signed for teachers in 2016, and it was dispensed of. And So I think what the lecturers have done is to prove a case of mathematical dishonesty in the entire process. They have proved that they deserved 7.9 billion shillings. And the Kenya Kwanza administration and the president is straight honest. Within the education charter, one item in bullet 12 on equitable quality education delivery was that the CBAs signed between unions and employers within the education sector will be honored and respected. So I think where we are at the moment, today they were in parliament. And from my experience, that is the last line of exhausting and dealing with the conflict. And I think the university lecturers presented their matter very well, and there was good engagement. And according to me, even if that pending payment is split into two, it will be concluded by 1st of July this year, because next year. So according to me, I think the lecturers have made a case. Initially it was 3 phases, but government has closed in and recommended 2.
Right.
So I think that is very easy to agree upon. And you know, it's good when we have our dons going back to class when they're happy. And of course, the students also resuming teaching when they know that their lecturers will be available in class. So according to me, this is a conflict that should not take more than the next 12 hours. It should be resolved. From my labor experience, there is nothing that is stopping the university lecturers and the universities from signing a proper return to work formula. And coupled with that, the CBA 2025-29 should also be signed and financed and paid.
Right.
According to the Kenya Kwanza policy, I don't think we are going to entertain unnecessary conflicts and strikes within the sector. It affects delivery of quality education. And I believe this is going to be the last. It has been properly addressed. It will be properly addressed. And we might not see any unrest. And this we can promise Kenyans. From where I sit and how I see things happening, this is going to be the last strike within the universities. Not that unions will be gagged, but the problem will be sorted out exhaustively. And I think the university lecturers should prepare to negotiate the CBO of 2029-2033. Within this space, the two will be sorted out. That of the CBA, that unsigned CBA, and that of the 7.9 billion, and the students should continue enjoying the new funding model. So we expect to see more work and more concentration of teaching and learning within the universities, in all universities, within the next few hours.
Right. I guess the proof will be, as they say, the pudding, because as Mr. Onespas has just told us, that there's no agreement that is ever implemented without strikes, as we have seen historically in this country. But let's just move this to the live audience that we have in studio tonight to answer the same question that we have as our question tonight, that can Kenya's universities recover any other way without the full payment of the 7.9 billion debt that is owed to the university's lecturers? Are there other funding models? Are there other ways out? Do you believe that there are other alternatives, there are other solutions? And if you have the placards with you, if you vote on the green side, that says that yes, we can unstuck ourselves, we can get out of this situation without the full payment in one lump sum of the debt. Red says that it has to be paid in full for us to move forward. So what do you think? We can make that vote now, the poll. Can Kenya's universities recover without fully honoring the 7.9 billion lecturer debt now? Yes is green, no is red. A majority of the voices says that the way, lift it up, so we can get to see what the feel is in the room.
This is over 85% no.
Okay, so we can take a few.
Yes, let's take your thoughts, especially those who've said yes. Let me see your cards again. Those who said yes. When you say our universities can recover without the full payment of the 7.9 billion right now, where do you think the source, or what do you think would be the strategy to recovering?
All right, thank you. My name is Tony Blair. I'm a student leader at the Jomo Kenyatta University of Agriculture and Technology. Besides, I'm also the Deputy President, Kenya Youth and Mentorship Association. In Kenya Youth Mentorship Association, which is a national counseling organization, we were discussing based on the current situation that the students are facing in the universities. And one thing that we realized, we were trying to capture the kind of attention, the attitude that the students are suffering, because the fact that the lecturers are on strike, it has made most of the students who are used to the university and campus life to be very vulnerable to things like drug abuse and other kind of lifestyles that they never lived, because they are much more idle in their situations. Others are indoor, therefore they suffer a lot of depression. And therefore, as an organization, we were trying to picture this, and one of the reasons why I agree that without the full payment, the lecturers can get back to with the return work formula is that we have to accept the situation is there. And as a matter of fact, we also have to consider much more a lot of the emotional part of the student, because this thing is drastically affecting the social life of the students. And even though they will now return to work in the next year, it has degraded the morale or the academic mindset that the students had. And therefore, if we cannot recover this as at now, students are going to lose morale on the way of the learning momentum. And this is not going to benefit them. They are going to as well to lack the confidence in the government politically, meaning that the governor, under the education management system, they are going to lack the faith in the leaders they have. And this is going to affect the country, meaning that this is going to make it to be a national crisis. And therefore, one thing I can say that lecturers can negotiate. They are as well humans as we. If they think that they are the only people being affected with the same thing, students who are very young and cannot even, others suffer the emotional effect. They do not know how to guide themselves. They are going to be much more affected. That is also going to bring another form whereby they are going to call for a system where they should be cancelled in order to get back to school to learn properly, which is also going to take time. And we're going to lack competence in the global space. Thank you.
All right. Let me see another person who said yes. The lady over there. You said yes? The other person said there was a yes on this side. Tell us why you think the universities in Kenya can recover without fully honoring the 7.9 billion lecturer debt now.
Hello everyone, my name is Marion Mwendwa. I'm the president of Women Students Welfare Association in the University of Nairobi. And for me, I think of it from a student perspective, from the lecturers' strikes is not only affecting the lecturers, but affecting the students directly. Issues mental health. For instance, in my university, we've had more than 10 cases of suicide in the University of Nairobi, and it's so alarming, and it has happened during the period of the lecturers' strikes. So this brings it to the point of people are idle and they don't have things to do, and also affecting the parents when it comes to parents paying the rent. Parents have paid rent for 2 months without the students studying. So I'm pretty sure there's something the government and UASU and whoever, they can come to a dialogue and agree on how they're going to help to sort this issue and come back to class, because it's really affecting the students. And I'm speaking from a point where I've had students bringing their issues to me and to other student leaders and to the school at large. Thank you.
Right. We'll take a few more of feedback and comments when we come back, but we need to take a short break here. You're watching The Last Word. We'll be right back in just a few moments.
This is The Last Word.
Well, welcome back and many thanks for staying with The Last Word. Tonight we are discussing the ongoing lecturers' strike in Kenya, asking the question, can Kenya's universities recover without fully honoring the 7.9 billion shillings lecturers' debt now? And that's the question that we are asking you on The Last Word tonight.
And our live audiences here voted, and most of them, actually I think over 85% of them, stated that no, Kenya's universities cannot recover without fully honoring the 7.9 billion lecturer debt now. And that's why right now I want to hear from those who said no. Why do you think the universities cannot recover if this amount is not paid? Let's start with the gentleman at the back.
Yeah. Hello everyone, my name is Peter Njenga, a student leader from JKUAT, serving as a speaker. And I'm a student of biotechnology. And one of the things we do in biotechnology is to try to find a cure to a disease that we have found maybe in a defective gene or in a plant. Now we have here is a disease, the lecturers have not been paid, of which the agreement, the government itself signed the 7.9 billion, yet they're the one challenging, going to court to challenge the decision that they did not sign that money. The cure is this: pay the lecturers the money so that we cannot have such a situation again. That is the cure. So if, let's say the government say they pay 50%, the same government can come next time and say, of course the treasury does not have funds. So the lecturers again will go to strike. And that's one of the things we're trying to prevent, because as a students and parents, we are reaching the end of our bargain by paying the fees, and the parents are really, really struggling to pay the fees. Therefore, the government needs to pay the lecturers the amount they owe 100% fully, because it's a debt. It's something that they have worked upon it. It's something they went to class, they taught the students, and therefore it's something that they owe the government. Therefore, my point is this: university will not survive if lecturers are not paid 100%.
All right, point made. Let me hear from one more person. The lady. Let's hear the lady first.
Hello everyone, my name is Sarah from University of Nairobi Kikuyu campus, and what I want to say about ongoing strike is that the government must pay the lecturers their money in full. My reason is because these lecturers, this is something that they signed like 2017. It's now affecting us today. Now you can imagine from 2017 to date, the government did not do as they required. Now, when you want to assume that the same government to pay these lecturers again in phases, it won't make sense. The same government will come and say that it can't be possible because there is no money in there. There is no money in the treasury, something of sort. So what you want to say is that the government to pay the lecturers their money in full, so that you can go back in class once and for all, not going back to the strikes again. Because these strikes, if they pay them in phases, this strike might come back and back and back again.
All right. We'll be coming to get another feedback, but I want to hear from the three gentlemen that we have. Well, most of them are unionists, and I want to come to you, Onesmus, and ask you, did it have to get here in the first place? That you go on strike, the first few days or the first few weeks is about disagreeing on how much is actually owed, and now talking about whether it will be paid in phases or not. Did it have to get here? And now that it actually has gotten here, shouldn't someone be taking responsibility?
Wonderful. That is exactly what you're saying, Karanja. Actually, we don't think that it should have gotten here because this is something that we agreed. We sat down, we agreed. It is a document that is registered in court as a legal document. We have two judgments on our favor. Apart from that, when their appeal collapsed, their own legal advisor, that is the Attorney General, wrote to them and advised them to pay. But they ignored the advice of the Attorney General. For us, as I said, in the university sector, history has taught us that if we have to get anything, we love to go on strike. Not that we like going on strike. Lecturers are, we are professionals who we like to teach and we love our job. But again, when we are pushed to the corner, then we don't have any other option. You'll agree, and even Mheshimiwa will agree with me here. The last CBA, that was 21-25. We negotiated last year. We went on a strike twice last year to force the government to negotiate and sign that CBA. What we agreed was they paid us half of the money. Then the other half was to be paid in 2 financial years. One this financial year, the other one next financial year. It was to be paid on 1st of July. When 1st of July came, they never paid. It came to August, they never paid. Came to October, to September, they never paid. It took us to call our members out of class. That is when they came to pay. Even this one, Mheshimiwa said that he is not foreseeing any strike. But I want to say that even if we were to agree to be paid in 2 phases, I don't think, history is telling us that they will most likely not going to honor. In fact, if they honor, I'll be surprised. That would be a miracle. Because it will be the first time that the government is honoring their word as far as CBAs are concerned. But again, as the students are saying, we feel that unless the 7.9 is settled, we cannot be sure that there's not going to be any strike, because even if we are to negotiate and in the likely event that tomorrow we sit down and agree on either 80-20, 50, whatever arrangement we make, unless the other party is paid. And what we're going to do is that we cannot call off the strike until the 7.9 is paid. What we might do is suspend the strike. And you see, once we suspend the strike, it means if they do not honor the other part of the payment, we'll just, in just a day or two, we are back. We are out of class again.
On response for clarity, before you proceed, we're speaking about 17-21.
Yes.
What is the fate of 21-25?
Thank you. Now, for 21-21, and that is why we were saying we want a one-off payment, because the 21-25 that we negotiated last year were paid half. The other half is to be paid in 2 financial years. So they paid the 2.7 after we went on this strike, because in this strike we had 3 items. Item number 1 was on the 2.7 payment for 2021-2025 CBA. The second item was the 7.9 payment for 2017-2021 CBA. And the third item was that the negotiations and signing and implementation of the 2025-2029 CBA. So for the 2021-2025, there's still 2.7 billion that is supposed to be paid next year, 1st of July. I am not sure that we will not be here again talking about strike before they pay the 2.7.
Yeah. So like what is the bigger priority? Is it clearing the arrears or securing the future CBA, or both holds?
You see, these are 3 different CBAs. Right. For us, we want to clear with all of them. But then negotiation is give and take. That is why we were pushing that the 7.9 be paid as one-off, so that we are done with the 2017-2021. But as now we have these 3 CBAs that are almost, on the table. The 2017-2021 is what we are talking about. The reason being that they went to court, and the court process prolonged the issue. Now we still have the 2021-2025. There are arrears for 2.7 that has to be paid next year. We now have the 2025-2029 that is yet to be negotiated.
So if you and government agree to be paid in phases, because the other phase will be July next year, it would mean that by the time we're getting to July next year, we'll be having compiled amount which will be owed to you by government. Am I getting the position correctly?
Correct. It means that if we are now have to take it to next year, actually the next financial year we will pilot with the 2017-2021, 2021-2025, And the 2025-2029, I and my colleagues raised the same in Parliament. And we said if we are to move it to next year, then we are going to have a lot to do next year. But we got the assurance that the minister or the government is committed, that regardless how much we're going to pile to next year, they are promised and committed that they will pay.
Okay. And Mr. Mukwaya, your members are the non-teaching staff in universities. How is the 7.9 billion payment affecting the lowest earning university staff?
Thank you. You know, our union is the largest in the university, and it cuts across all cadres, the very top. Now you're asking, how is the CBA or this 7.9 going to affect? Obviously, a worker gets up every morning to go to work because he wants a payment. The agreement, the contract that you have signed with your employer is that you'll come to work and your employer will do what? Will pay you. And so the 7.9 has not been paid to these members from 2017. But these workers diligently have been waking up every morning since then, July 1st, 2017. He or she knows the employer has not paid me, but nonetheless, I'll wake up and go and do the work. They have done it. They have done it. And therefore, they have done this perhaps at the expense of their own comfort. Some of them have had to borrow money to keep themselves up with legitimate expectation that at the end of the day, what my union negotiated for me will be paid to me. You're saying that. So the 7.9 is money that is owed. In fact, these members are saying, if need be, the union should be asking of the interest of this money that has accrued over the years. But we're not even going there. We're just saying, okay, fine, you pay what you owe. But the worst would have been asking both the principal and the interest that this money has earned. But allow me just to get back on what my colleague has indicated a little while ago. You see, the problem with our universities that is causing us to be where we are is lack of good faith and goodwill from the government of the day and the employers. Because there's no way we will sit with you as social partners. We engage and agree. But then you're hiding a dagger behind your back. When we have agreed and signed, we are now carrying this document together with you and place it before a court of law for registration. Then you remove your dagger. You say, my lord, I'm objecting to that particular document from being registered. That is lack of goodwill and good faith. You are the cause of the problem. But as if that is not enough, you decide now the matter becomes a suit. The matter becomes being prosecuted, which is okay because every Kenyan has a right to go to court to seek justice. Whenever you feel aggrieved, you go and do that. But when you do that, you're doing that to seek justice so that then you can be able to dispense off with it and move on. Look at what happens in the university in this particular matter. They went to court. Then the court said, okay, fine, you have raised your objection, but because we want the students to continue learning and the university is running, I, the court, am going to register this document, this agreement on the interim basis, so that the rest of the university operations, the learning and all other programs continue while I listen to you. And the court listens. You're allowed to bring your submissions and all the witnesses and everything to the court and argue. We are talking about the government. The Minister of Education, the National Treasury, the Salaries and Remuneration Commission, and the University Council, 4 government agencies, are the ones in court opposed to what we have assigned with them. Okay? And so they bring all their argument before a court of law. And then when the court has heard the parties, the court now makes the final judgment. That is now 15th January 2021. The final judgment is made. The court says, after looking at all these submissions you've made here, we rule that the cost of this CBA is not 8.8, it is 16.57 billion. That is the salaries together with the pension liabilities. Now, that is a court judgment. You as a government agency, what are you supposed to do when the court has made a final judgment? You are supposed to obey that judgment.
Right.
What do they do? Instead of going ahead and paying, because the court says, now you go, work together. The National Treasury, Minister of Education, SRC, the Salary Administration Commission, and University Council work and ensure that you get extra financial budgetary allocation to get this thing done. That is in 2021. You decide, no, I'm going to appeal against this, which is again their constitutional right. Okay, so they go to a court of appeal, file the notice of appeal, obtain a stay. Now this is where the exemplification of bad faith and bad manners. After obtaining the stay, okay, and filing a notice of appeal, you just decide now to sleep on your job. You don't want to go there now. You do not want to go further and file the record of appeal so that this matter is adjudicated and prosecuted fully. How can you call that? So that now when we as workers in the university, we keep asking, but what is happening with the arrears that we agreed with you since 2017? You show us the stay order. And then you tell us, this matter is in court. Then you keep it. Then you keep silent. From 2021, 2022, 2023, 2024. If that is not bad faith and lack of goodwill, then we don't know what it is. You don't bother. Until when the unions now decide, no, an appeal process has a specific time frame within which it should be prosecuted. Let's go back to court and now ask, this matter has been lying here for all these years. Kindly, your lordship, give us a ruling. And that was now March 2025. The court now of appeal gives a ruling. It quashes that stay, right? And that record of appeal is also rubbished. And the court says, you go back to the judgment that was delivered on 15th January 2021, pay. And in so doing, the AG, who was representing all these government agencies in all these suits, writes on 15th of April 2025, writes the parent ministry telling them, you know, we have lost our case.
Pay up.
Now, get this money and pay the staff so that we forget about this matter.
All right.
Now, when you look at that judgment, there is nowhere it says that money be paid in phases. Are you saying that?
Yes.
It's not saying that. It's saying pay. Now, just to get back to what the audience is also, just to mention something on that, on the question that you asked, whether we can be able to recover.
I think we'll be coming to you to answer that, because there's something I really want to throw to Sosion's side. Sosion, you are a unionist. You are a trade unionist, but you also sat on this other side. You went to parliament, and right now, you even worked with the Ruto regime in setting up the education charter and all this. And what Muhwaya is pointing out, the lack of goodwill appears to be a software problem. You've sat on these three sides. What is the problem? What is the actual problem? Why can't employers, why can't universities, and this goes beyond the education sector, this cuts across employers, especially government employers. It cuts across. You will agree on something, but eventually someone will try and beat the system.
It is basically on the regimes. The issues we are dealing with actually stems from the previous administration. and it had been complicated. That's a fact. Because when you talk about 2017, no. Allow me right of reply and give my views as is. Because when you're talking about 2017, 2021 CBA and the judgment that was rendered in 2021, that was right before elections. So this matter had been complicated previously. And we can go on and you can see there are 3 CBAs that are overlapping. 2017, 2021, 2021, 2025, and then now 2025, 2029. And this non-proper implementation of the CBS is squarely an administrative omission by the institutions responsible, beginning with the universities. The moment you signed the CBA, the implementation was left to the university administration to liaise with the National Treasury. And somebody should apologize to the lecturers, to the students of this country, to the parents, because the students have wasted time. That's a fact for sure. And I don't think this is how matters of administering education will be conducted.
You're deflecting the ball back to universities. Where do universities get their fund from?
The funds are from the National Treasury. I'm talking about.
So it goes back to the government.
I've said institutions. The institutions here, you've heard about SRC, giving the heaviest confusion in the whole of this saga. The IPUCCF, who appealed in the courts. It is not the National Treasury. It is somebody at the ministry. So somebody created confusion. And I think as this matter is concluded, somebody must take must bear responsibility on this. Because how much time have we wasted in terms of resources for the students? That is my view. So all this is about individuals messing up in the offices. And I'm happy with the recommendation of the Attorney General that you pay. And I want to assure my fellow unionists here, I don't think we are going to witness this confusion again. There will be clear demarcation in all the 3 CBS, and they will all be executed without overlapping. The 2017-2021 will be concluded in the payroll of 1st of July 2026. That will be a close thing. The CBA of 2021-2025, there are no issues. It is being implemented. CBA of 2025-2029, already money has been set aside for it for the parties to negotiate, sign, and deposit the agreement in court. So I think the current regime, the Kenya Kwanza administration, is not interested whatsoever, and the president is clear, is not interested whatsoever in promoting conflicts with the labor unions. But it is interested in respecting agreements and promoting industrial harmony and industrial peace. To me, since I've been in many spaces, and now I'm in space of government, that one I can say it without shame and without fear, we are seeing the last industrial action in the universities.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
We witnessed a lot in the medical sector, but that has since been sorted out gradually over time.
Allow me to ask you, Sosion, because you've been in so many spaces. You started as a teacher, unionists, parliament, and now you're working with the government. What is the missing link? By the time the government or whatever ministry gets into a CBA to say, look, we'll pay this much within this period of time, these ministries will always present their budget estimates to Parliament for allocation of monies. I believe by the time, and that's why I'm asking this question, because you are a parliamentarian, by the time they're presenting these particular estimates, Parliament will consider and eventually allocate monies for this. Why do we end up with these monies not being paid? What is the missing link in the entire chain?
If the originators of those preparing the budget does not factor correctly what is in the CBA, then we'll have a problem. And if it is properly factored, there will be no problem. And we had these problems of salary conflicts in the basic education with the unions over time. But the moment we started signing clear CBAs and working on proper projection of 4 years, that problem has ceased to exist. Now, it is still hanging over, this cloud of confusion, poor mathematics, and I think somebody is deliberately causing confusion. Because once a CBA is signed, the accounting officers, the institution, because the universities, the payrolls are operated by accountants and competent people, there should be no problem as to the mathematics. And those figures and proposals is what the Ministry of Education should submit to Parliament. And if that data is not submitted to Parliament, it will not be captured in the budget. And you can see the unions have worked hard to dig into the mathematics and prove a case. And in the process of proving that case, somebody decided to be mischievous to frustrate the process by filing an appeal in court against a ruling of a lower court. And I think it is time we don't need to take matters of labor relations, CBAs that are properly signed, to the courts. They just must be honored and be paid. And I think that's the position of government. Today, there were 2 ministers in Parliament, the CS Treasury, Mbadi, and the CS Education. That shows the level of commitment and seriousness by the government. And Mbadi said very clearly, the questions and the fears of the organizing secretary, that we fear getting into July and what has been agreed is not implemented in terms of figures. And I think Mbadi said, I'll take responsibility and ensure that all CBAs are financed. This should be a strong message to the entire education sector and to the universities that there will be no time to engage in petty confusion, waste students' time, valuable time, waste parents' resources, and waste the national resources at the same time. The universities must pivot back to concentrate in quality teaching, concentrate in research work and community development. Furthermore, the Kenya Kwanza administration manifesto and pillar is about re-engineering the production sector in the country so that we engage in proper value addition, manufacturing, and everything. It cannot be done when the universities are in confusion. We are talking about shifting Kenya from being a middle-income or third-world country to a first world by 2055. Who will do that? It is the universities. It is the education sector. And that is why it is urgent to stabilize the universities. Right. That's the position of the president. That is the position of this regime. Right. And we are cleaning up confusion of the previous regimes very decisively. That's a fact for sure. Right. So I assure the university lecturers, I assure the public that there will not be any more industrial action within the universities because things will be done right.
That's that. And I think in a short while we'll just need to address the sustainability question. And I think at the crux of the issue that we have here is how sustainably are we able to fund quality education at our university levels. And, historically, right from when we passed the Universities Act of 2016 and had, rapid expansion of universities, massive enrollment, have we been able to meet this expanded enrollment into the universities? Is the funding model sustainable? And we'll have that in a short while. But Mr. Mutiso, you seemed to have a contrary view to what Sosyon is saying. I'll have you address that and also quickly jump onto the big question of how do we recover lost time? 48 days the strike has been on. There's a calendar, there's an academic calendar, there's a curriculum, structure. How then do we go back onto this and ensure that, then the condensed curriculum is still passed on in a quality manner?
Thank you. First, I think about recovering the lost time. That is a part of the return to work formula that we're going to sit down. Today we agreed that we are going to push the semester. We'll calculate the days that we've lost, the 48 days, and ensure that we push the semester so that we ensure that the students do not lose, and we also ensure that lecturers are not pressured to recover that. So that will be taken care of as we talk about the return to work formula.
Okay.
The reason why I was looking at Mheshimiwa seems to be, thinking that this issue is a regime issue. Maybe yes, but again, Mheshimiwa, the 2021-2025 was negotiated with this regime. We negotiated it last year.
And it has no issue.
It was part of why we were on strike, because the 2.7 was never paid.
And let me finish,
And if this government is really committed, as Mheshimiwa wants us to believe, did it have to take 48 days for these students being out there just to agree that it is not 600, it is 7.9? This is something that with commitment could have been resolved in 1 week, but it has taken 48. So I like the commitment that I hear from Mheshimiwa, and I pray that is going to be, if they keep that word, then I want to assure you, Mheshimiwa, if you keep to your promises, I am sure that the 48 days that we have wasted for the students should not have been wasted. We still feel that the universities are poorly financed, and I strongly feel that these are something that a debate that needs more discussion. The universities needs to be more funded. We have talked around, we've been there talking about the challenges of the new model. We don't think that the new model, as a union, we've always felt that the new model would not resolve the financial crisis of the universities. We have universities that are disadvantaged due to maybe their geographical equation or, other factors. If they don't get students, Mheshimiwa, how will those universities be sustained? For us, a word that we are likely to pick up with the government once the full cycle of the model comes is that we, as the professors, will be paid from the fees from the students. That has never happened. You cannot pay me from the fees of the students. I'm a government employee. I expect my salary to come from the exchequer. But now in the new model, Mheshimiwa, you want to pay the professor from the fees from the students. What will happen when the students don't pay fees? Or when they are on long vacation, especially between, April to August. That is the long vacation. So will we go without a salary? We have explained the challenges of the new model. We have said that the problem with the old model, what needed to be done was to finance the DUC, the model that was there, because Mheshimiwa was there, will agree. The challenge that came up with the old model, that the DUC, is that the DUC was to be funded at 81%. You know that, Mheshimiwa? But what did the government do? The government was financing at 41%. That is why many of the universities sank into financial problems. And the government increased their financing to the university even to a level of 70%, then many of the universities could not be in financial problems. You aware that the vice chancellors came up with that proposal. They said if you don't want to increase the funding from 40 to the 81 that is agreed, then allow us to increase the fees for the students, and we'll be able to, to come out of the financial problems. Again, well, due to other reasons, that did not see the light of the day. So we still feel that this financing of the universities is still not being addressed. The question, and I want to be honest with you, Mheshimiwa, we are unions, we speak as it is. The issue of telling the government that the new model is working miracles, that is going to solve the financial problems in the university, is not being true. The reality is that the model is not going to work. Right. It has the challenges that needs to be fixed, but key to that is on our side. I don't want to talk for the students, because then, when you begin to qualify students, this one is in bad 5, their one is in bad 1, this one comes from a poor background, this one is, how do you do that? I thought education, is an equalizer, but they'll speak for themselves. For us unions, our key problem here is when you tell us that our salary will come from the students' fees. High school, you were there, Mheshimiwa. High school students pay fees. Are teachers paying from that school fees? No. The teachers are paying from the exchequer. The police, when they arrest criminals and they go to pay fine, are they paid from that? The doctors are not paid from the money that the patients pay. Why are you telling university lecturers that they will be paid their salaries from the school fees of the students? That is not going to be acceptable.
Right.
It is another strike that we're going to call.
All right. Charles, you wanted to weigh in on the question we asked our live audience on whether universities can recover without fully honoring that 7.9 billion debt now. Then later on we'll be going back to more feedback from the audience. But that is the question you were headed to.
Right. Thank you. That was a very critical question that was raised. Universities are a going concern. A country that does not have university education running.
You can just lift your mic a bit, yes.
A country that does not have university education actually is a country that should be seen as a pariah state. Okay? We need to have universities running. And a country that has got more than 60% of the population as the youth, then but more reason why our education should be up there to ensure that we have educated young population that is going to enter into the labor market to push this country from the economic status that we are in to where Mheshimiwa was saying we want to move to, we need that. So now, with the current problem, are these universities able to recover without fully paying the 7.9? It's a challenge there. It's a challenge. One of the things that our students must be assured is that they're going to have lecturers standing in front of them and teaching them, lecturers who are in the right frame of mind. If you have a lecturer who is coming to teach you and he is not thinking properly, that lecturer is cheating you in that class. Lecturer ambaye amesongwa na mawazo, hajui watoto wake watakula nini, hajui atalipa fees ya watoto wake, hata yeye mwenyewe hajui atafikaje kwenye kazi ndiye afanye kuwafundisha. That kind of lecturer cannot teach. And therefore, yes, you may think that we can push this matter under the carpet and get the universities back. But then, again, what Mheshimiwa was saying, what quality education then are you going to churn out? Do these students just want to be taught for the sake of being taught and therefore they move out there? I don't think so. I don't think so. So the issue of this 7.9 is very key, that if I were in government, I would actually pay a lot of attention on how I'm addressing it. I have looked at the industrial entropy that lecturers and the rest of the employees are exhibiting during this strike. That entropy tells you something. When you find a professor putting on a dare and dancing in front of the students that he's supposed to be teaching, it tells you that that person is serious on what he's trying to agitate for. You see, we have never experienced this, by the way. In fact, even as we speak today, as much as we're in parliament, the numbers of staff getting on the strike grounds were swelling. They were swelling, telling us that that 7.9 needs to be addressed, or else there will not be much that recovery. Yes, there will be, perhaps for purposes of optics. But the lecturers are actually disillusioned. The morale is down. They are demotivated. And that's why they're coming out. And as we are seated here with my colleague, the number of phone calls that we are receiving on an Almost a minute doesn't pass. They're saying, no, we want our money. We have been owed all this time. We want our money, we want our money. And they even telling us, you dare accept anything that is not what we want. So we are here and trying to engage our social partners as true patriots. Yes, we want to engage in social dialogue objectively.
Right.
But can the government also then say, yes, this was a mistake that we made it, we caused it. Let's go an extra mile. Let's try and move closer to where this, dissatisfied, demoralized, demotivated workers have been pushed to by the government's own mistake.
Right.
So the recovery may not be so certain because the quality may suffer if we do not address this particular matter. And then I think you'll also allow me just to add something on this funding model. The funding model, the new funding model came like the panacea that would solve all the problems within the universities. Far from it. I want to ask you, when your house leaks, what do? Do you bring it down, the entire structure? Or you want to look at how do I fix that particular leaking roof? The DUC, the old funding model, was not that bad. It was not that bad. The whole problem again was because the government then did not keep its side of the bargain. It was based on the 80% government will be able to fund the cost of that academic program per student.
Right.
And 20% the student will be able to do what? Or his or her family will be able to take care of it.
Right.
Now, while the students and their parents were struggling and ensuring that their 20% side of the bargain is met, the government reneged on its 80%. In fact, my colleague, I wish to correct him. The government actually was paying as low as 38% of 80%, not even 40. It was 38%. And that's part of what made the universities start getting down. Where do you expect these institutions to get money to teach these boys and girls?
So you say that the old model was not that bad.
It was not that bad.
But
It
is
only
the new one
required
optimistic? Is the new model optimistic by itself?
this new model, as I said, has come in, and people think, like my colleague here feels, that that is the panacea that is going to help these universities out of this problem. You see, the new funding model is also called student-centered funding model. That the money will follow the student wherever he or she has been admitted to study. Now, if, like my colleague indicated, if University A does not attract enough students, it means there will be no money going there. There will be no money following the student because the money must follow the student where he or she is going to be admitted. It therefore means that the problems that these universities have will still continue. Number two, Mheshimiwa talked of when this particular government came in place, that it found the pending bills owed that the universities, the money that actually they are owed in terms of third party, in terms of what they're supposed to pay, in terms of their pension component and so on and so forth, to be around 60 billion. It is not. It is now more than 90 billion as we speak. Now, these are state-run organizations. If you don't give them that money, where do you expect a vice chancellor to get money? Will he get money from his pocket to run the institution? Right. It is the exchequer who is supposed to do it. Then, when you give out that money as a government, ensure that there's prudent management of those resources. Right. Again, that's where the government fails. It gives the money to these institutions, and it does not ensure that the agencies that are in place to ensure there's prudent management, the government again doesn't do that. So these universities are actually heavily laden with debt of more than 90 billion shillings right now. And we have seen in the past the government of Kenya bailing out, for example, Mumia Sugar, Kenya Airways, right? Why can't the same government also bail out these universities? Even if it means bit by bit every financial year.
Right.
That you reduce these debts, okay? And now you come in with maybe your new funding model that has come in place. We try and see whether these institutions now can start getting life again. In any case, the numbers of students joining our universities is increasing. So it is possible that perhaps if you help these institutions pay all their debts, reduce their debts, and allow now the new funding model as you want to believe, okay, and ensure there's prudent management of those resources, I don't think then these universities will be this. But lastly, lastly,
very briefly, so
yes,
we also have get to listen to Sosio.
Yes, the universities are in this quagmire, and they are likely to continue despite what Mheshimiwa is saying. They are likely to continue in this problem because CBAs are negotiated completely outside the financial year, outside the cycle. We are talking of 2017, 2021. When did we sign it? 2019.
Right. We have to.
Yes. Yeah. So when you negotiate away from the financial year, then you are quoting strikes, and they will come. We must get a way of avoiding by ensuring we negotiate that CBA within its life cycle, actually before.
Fantastic. Fantastic. Thank you so much. That is actually very clear from the voice of the university staff as winding up. We'll allow us to take two people giving us their feedback from the audience, Sosion, as the last one. Then you will have your concluding remarks.
It would be useful,
because I'm sure there'll be questions.
It would be useful. I make some little intervention. I think let us not deal with the financial challenges in the universities in isolation, like we are doing it in 2025. Let us look at the history of financing of university education, right from during Moi time. Moi challenged universities to look for alternative sources of income to finance their operations. And eventually, Module 2 came in. And when Module 2 was operational, it was the best time for lecturers and staff. That's a fact for sure. And where did the rain beat us? Change of policy in 2016. Yes, it was right to stop examinations cheating, but it was wrong to frustrate transition to universities. Because at that time, Kibaki had projected we were to do at least 15% and above. But then when Matiang'i and team and Magoa and team came up, of course they stopped cheating, but then transition to university was brought down because of poor policies in grading at the exams. And I raised a lot of issues. And I told Wasu and Kusu, if you are not careful, this reduced transition to university will affect universities financially, and your workers might be laid off. That is an historical fact we need to trace. You see, in 2015, C plus and above were 265,000. 2015. But in 2016, C plus and above reduced to 88,000. And in 2017, it reduced further to 70,000. No country in the world does not improve transition to university. That was a mistake. It was a tragedy. And that challenge, and in fact, Module 2 closed down. Universities started collapsing. That is where the rain started beating us. It is a policy. Let's deal with that policy. Over time, we encouraged moderation of KCSE exams. And when it was moderated, the numbers started going up at 130,000. This year, it's around those who are admitted to universities who are through COOPs who are 240 something, 200 and something. but then those who reported are 160 something. So the number is going up gradually, and the universities are beginning to receive substantial numbers through the normal admission. And that is going to address issues of funding gradually. I am not telling universities it is going to be a walk in the park. It's going to be a walk in the park. The challenges will be there. And I urge lecturers and through their unions to discuss policies seriously, incisively, and even critique the funding model.
Thank you.
You critique, can we make it work, then deal with the challenges arising from its implementation.
That's clear.
But I think what is key is that the funding of universities has been enhanced from the previous 54 billion to 84 billion per annum. And if you look at help loan, is up from 13 billion. This year it will be 41 billion. I think we all discuss positively and identify the real gaps, and we deal with the gaps. The government is committed, from where I sit as a trade unionist, to ensure that universities begin operating normally the way it used to. Why can't we be optimistic for once? And face the challenges facing universities and try to resolve them.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah,
please
I think it's good to become optimistic.
Thank you so much. And we have really outrun our time for the show tonight. I don't think we have any more time to take more feedback, but thank you so much. Thank you so much for our guests who are part of the discussion tonight. And the question we've been asking is, can Kenya's universities recover without fully honoring the 7.9 billion shilling lecturer debt now? And of course, we've canvassed a lot around this and the crux of it, the effects on the students, the effects on the lecturers themselves, and how this then affects the quality of education that is owed to our students. So what is the last word? And it's not about the poll tonight, it's about the truth that defines the crisis. And the truth is that 7.9 billion shillings is not a demand, it is a debt. It's verifiable, it's a contractual obligation from the 2017 to 2021 CBA, and the government argues for phased payments due to constrained fiscal space. But then the UASU is right that every phased payment planned in the past has guaranteed the next strike. Therefore, our answer to the question tonight is a definitive no. Kenya cannot recover until this debt is settled, that the government must find the means, and not just to pay the arrears, but also to register the 2025 to 2029 CBA in order to break the cycle. This is our last word tonight, and that until that investment is made, our students will remain the collateral damage of a broken promise. Thank you so much for your engagements in studio tonight. Thank you for all our guests and our live audience as well. A huge round of applause to ourselves for making the engagement very lively. And that's where we end the discussion tonight. My name is Sharon Momanyi, been together with Ibrahim Karanja. And we'll see you again next time, same place, same time on The Last Word. Have a good night.
Good night.